So, Stu, how right or wrong were the polls last time? Because nobody thought that Donald Trump was going to win.
No, I mean,
Did we just not pay attention to those polls, or were they wrong?
I think there's a little bit of both in there. And one of the big lessons that everyone took from 2016 is never look at another poll again because they're always wrong. And reality, that's not fair at all. The national polls predicted the results I think they missed by about a little over, it was like 1.1 or 1.2 points. That doesn't sound right because we obviously know the result wasn't right. But remember, polls don't look at the Electoral College. Polls look at the national popular vote, which they predicted pretty accurately, honestly. There are a few state polls that were wrong and was enough to throw the election to Donald Trump, and that's the Electoral College, and obviously very important. But the poll results overall for 2016 were actually really solid when it comes to the nationwide one. And honestly, the bigger lesson to learn, and this is a lesson that I certainly learned in the primary, was in the primary. Like, remember, Donald Trump led all the polls. People forget because at the very end, everyone thought Hillary Clinton was going to win and Donald Trump won. Well, remember, the polls also existed for the primary. And the primary said over and over again for months, despite all the fundamentals, despite all the things that said the opposite, that Donald Trump should win the primary and is leading the primary. And he did. So in reality, like, looking at these polls and completely dismissing them is probably a little bit foolish. However, again, a lot can change in a presidential election. Remember, it was only a few weeks before the election happened when you have, the Access Hollywood tape coming out and polls are swinging towards Hillary Clinton with these large margins. And he was able to whittle away at that and come all the way back to almost even in the popular vote right towards the end. He hasn't started any messaging here. The idea that, because here's some of the results. He's down by 17 in Virginia, a state he's probably not going to win anyway. He's down by 15 in Maine, 14 in Minnesota. And he almost won Minnesota in 2016. Michigan, he's down by 13 in these internal polls. Again, they're from March. Even the pollster who took them says at this point they're misleading. He's losing to Biden in North Carolina by 8. He's losing in Iowa by 7, in Ohio by 1. These results are not good, and obviously he would get destroyed if these were real, but they're not real, and that is really important to know.
It is also the unnamed Democrat.
It's Biden, actually. In this particular one, it's Biden. Though Biden, I think, stands in for the unnamed Democrat in a lot of ways, because he's kind of the guy. He hasn't really campaigned yet. He's a guy that people know, but they know him largely for him being vice president, which, as we all know, in most cases is just a role. It's the backup quarterback role, right? People kind of predict, well, if this person came in, he'd be great, but you never actually see him doing anything if you're a Democrat. You've never seen him actually enacting these policies. And when he's tried to come out and propose things, he's really had a lot of trouble so far. I mean, the Hyde Amendment is the big one where he reversed himself, a multi-decade stance against public funding for abortion. And he's come out and now reversed that stance a few times over the past few weeks. And that's a stance that is actually largely popular among the American people. Even people who are pro-choice, generally speaking, can get behind the idea, all right, we know it's controversial, let's not put public funding behind it. It's only a slight majority of Democratic voters who support overturning the Hyde Amendment. So, I mean, it's one of those issues that if he's wavering on something, that's a simple one to be quote-unquote centrist about. And he's already waving on those. I mean, what this campaign could do to him over a long period of time, he may look just as socialist as any of the others.
So and maybe it's just me, I just think that when America, if the campaign is run right, when America says, all right, I've got the chaos of the Trump administration, you never know how to predict it, and I'm tired of the fighting back and forth. However, when I look at who he's fighting against the press, and most Americans don't trust the press. So he's right on that one. And he's also, if they run things properly, when you look at things like abortion and you look at really pretty much everything, he's in step with the American people. They are wildly out of step. And when it comes down to it, they may say right now, you know what, I don't like all the chaos. I don't like all the bickering back and forth. But when it comes down to it, if the economy is doing well, they will look and say, you know what, I got a job. Things are going pretty well. I think this is stable. I don't like these things, and there's a chance that they do enact those things. I'm just going to go with this one. Let's not change horses. As long as the economy.
Yeah, huge risk for Democrats in nominating someone like Elizabeth Warren or Bernie Sanders, especially, who's outwardly telling you they want to change the fabric of our society, right? At least Biden's attempting to hide that. And if you have someone who says basically, okay, here's a stable guy. We already saw Biden in there. Again, this is not my analysis. I'm saying a Democratic voter or a centrist voter even who says, I don't like the chaos of Trump. Biden, he was around. I remember that. You start remembering these things more fondly than they were. There's plenty of chaos in the Obama administration, but people will forget a lot of that. And they'll say, all right, well, he's not going to be a revolutionary. You don't get that from Elizabeth Warren. You don't get that from Bernie Sanders. I don't think you're going to get that from Kamala Harris or many of these others. And at that point, you're saying, well, I have something good. Am I going to flush it completely down the toilet and try something different? Or am I going to stick with what's going on right now, which has aspects I don't like, but the economy's good. There's a lot of good things. I think he's got a good case there.